Hello and good afternoon, CSI257 Section 847 students for the first 8-week term at Anne Arundel Community College Networking 3 course, which is the Cisco Networking Academy Scaling Networks course. Today's PacketTracer tutorial is going to take a look at troubleshooting Ether channel, and this is PacketTracer tutorial 3.2.2.3. So let's go ahead and let's jump in right here. And the troubleshooting are always some of the most rewarding PacketTracer scenarios that we get to work on. So we've got 4 switches were recently configured by a junior technician. Users are complaining that the network is running slow and would like you to investigate. So step 1, we're going to examine the switches. And remember, when physical ports are assigned to an Ether channel port, they behave as one. So each pair will either be operational or down. They're not going to be mixed with one port green and one port orange. We also want to make sure that the ports are in the trunking mode. And so let's go ahead and start on switch 1 here, and let's see what switch 1 has configured for us today. Let's make that a little larger. So we'll go from user exec to privilege exec. I'm going to type show ether channel summary. So let's see what we see right out of the gate. All right, so we've got channel group 1, which is using LACP, is reporting that 2 of his interfaces are in the, and it's a little higher up here, are in the standalone state. And it's no, L-O-N-E, standalone state, which means on the other side of the link, it's a pretty good guess that gig 01 and gig 02, which are here, right, on switch 1, that we've got an issue over here somewhere on switch 2. And from our previous PacketTracer 3.2.1.3, we should know pretty quickly that on the other end, these guys might not be configured properly. So let's take a look right away at switch number 2. Or I'm sorry, switch number 3 it is. So let's take a look at switch number 3 and let's see what his gig 01 and gig 02 ports are showing. So again, we'll go from user exec into privilege exec, and we'll do a show ether channel, and I wanted to do ether channel summary. So no coincidence, it looks like we've definitely got some challenges here on switch 3. So if you take a look at these side by side, or I guess let me move them a little apart from each other, and we'll pull switch 1 back up. And we take a look at these 2 outputs here. If gig 01 and 02 are supposed to be configured in an ether channel, or we'll say port channel, and again, so real quick point of order. So you're going to hear a lot of terms in the industry. You're going to hear lag, which stands for Link Aggregation Group, and that is not exclusively, but it is predominantly a Juniper term. You're going to hear Ether channel, you're going to hear port channel, you're going to hear aggregation group, you're going to hear bonded channel. So a lot of different ways to describe it, and even in the output, right? So we do show Ether channel, and what does it show us? It shows us the port channels. So again, you'll hear a lot of the terms, and they are synonymous, right? They all talk about the same thing, which is taking individual links and bonding or bundling them together to increase the bandwidth, okay, the available bandwidth. So back to this conversation. So we're looking at switch 1, and these guys right here on gig 01 and 02 are saying, hey, we're in the standalone state. And over here, it's also in the standalone state. We've got group 1 and group 1. So just kind of taking a look at that whole line, you should be able to rather quickly identify what that problem probably is. And it's what we talked about earlier in 3.2.1.3 is that LACP 802.3AX, and that's a capital A and a capital X, is not compatible with PAgP, because PAgP is Cisco proprietary. So we looked at what happened when we had one end as with LACP. When we did both ends as passive, we ended up with this. And it's the same thing here. We're going to end up with standalone mode because PAgP is looking for somebody to do PAgP and LACP is looking for somebody to do LACP. And the two do not work together. So that's a quick problem that we see right away. Let me check if it's going to ask us or instruct us to go one way or the other. Correct any switch ports that are not assigned correctly. And I want to make sure, verify the physical ports and topology. Set to trunking, correct any that are in access mode. Set to trunking mode. So it looks like this may be open to us to go ahead and pick where we want to make the changes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll make the changes here, and we should be able to see rather quickly with the completion percentage. Hopefully it's going to update for me. So if I were to do a show run, and we want to look at gig 01 and 02, which are going to be down here at the bottom. So we see interface, port channel 1, switch port mode trunk, and these guys are set to desirable, which is PAgP. So let's go ahead. Let's go into global config mode, and we're going to go into interface range GI 01 to 02. So we're going to fix it. It's got to be fixed on one side or the other, right? I'm just simply choosing to flip it to LACP. So we're here. We're going to say no channel group. Whoops. Channel group, and let me go back and double check that again. Make sure I get this right. Channel group 1. No channel group 1 mode desirable, right? So now if I do a do show run, let's see what gig 01 and 02 look like now. So they're trunk ports, and that's what we want. You can see here we've got they lit up red because we pulled them out of the ether channel. But let's go ahead and do what we worked on in the last exercise, which is channel protocol. We're going to set it to LACP, and then channel group, we're going to go ahead and set it to 1 mode. And remember, with PAgP, it's auto and desirable. With LACP, it is active and passive. And so we're going to do active, right? So if I do a do show run now, what do the member ports look like? There we go. We've got them added in. You can see it didn't like our channel protocol command. That's okay. And now the links are orange. They've transitioned to orange. So if I were to do a do show span real quick here, what can we see about gig 01 and 02? So they are in the learning state, right? The role was designated. They're in the learning state. Let's run that command again, and we can see gig 01 and 02. And there's one thing we don't see, though, is we're not seeing the port channel interface. So over here, if I said show span, see, we're seeing the port channel. We're seeing port channel 3 and port channel 5. And so if I were to do show run, let's see which interfaces. Gig 01 and 02 are channel group 1 switch port mode trunk. Aha. And so what do you see here? As we're looking at switch 1, what else do we see that could be of concern? So remember, when we see the individual ports over here, and we saw a little earlier up when we did the show spanning tree, we're seeing the individual ports, right? And it shows that they're forwarding and that they're designated, but it doesn't show me the port channel here. So what could be the problem? And all we need to do is really take a look at 3 and 5 and say, how are 3 and 5 configured? Because they do show up, but 1 doesn't. And you could quickly realize that, you know what? We need to set that to switch port mode trunk. So let's go into global config, interface, port channel 1, and let's say switch port mode trunk. Because if one side's a trunk and the other side is not a trunk, then it's not going to form a trunk for you automatically, which is why we're not seeing this show up either as the port channel interface. So let's take a look now. If we do the do show ether channel summary, so it still shows up as down and in the standalone state, but what about a do show span? Nope, we're still seeing gig 01 and 02. Let's do a do show run. And we've got our switch port mode trunk in there. We've got active on our other 2 ports. All right. So that's good. So we'll continue our troubleshooting here. All right, so we're good there. So it wants to verify that all physical ports in the topology are set to trunking. So we did that here on switch 1. When I did the do show run, you can see 21 and 20, which go over to, I'm sorry, 21 and 22, which go over to switch 2. Those are trunks in channel group 5, and they're set to active. 23 and 24 go over to switch 4. Those are trunks, and they are active. And then gig 01 and gig 02 are also trunks, and they are also in active mode. So we've set up the interfaces correctly here on switch 1. Let's take a look over at switch 2 now and just kind of move through in sort of a methodical fashion in order, taking a look at each of the switches here. So let's do from user exec to privilege exec, show spanning tree. So we see we've got 2 port channels, and then one's blocking, and that's blocking on, looks like PO2. So let's do a, all right, let's do a show run, and let's see. All right, so 21 and 22 are also active, but what do we notice? Are they switch ports? I'm sorry, are they trunk ports? Because the problem is that they're set up as access ports, right? So remember, we want to set these up as trunk ports. So 21, 22, 23, 24, and even gig 01 and gig 02 are all access. So let's go ahead and go into global config. We're going to say interface range FA021 to 24, and we're going to say switch port mode trunk. And then we're going to say interface range gig 01 to 02, and we're also going to say switch port mode trunk, right? So let's do a do show run again, and that's what we're looking for there, right? We want to see active mode for LACP, and we also want to see that they are trunk ports. And so now let's take a look down here. Aha, so our port channels 2, 3, and 6 don't have the switch port mode trunk statement. So let's get in there and take care of that. So we're going to say interface PO2, switch port mode trunk, interface PO3, switch port mode trunk, and interface PO6, switch port mode trunk. All right, so now we've set all of those interfaces to be trunk ports, and we do a do show run real quick. So we have our switch port mode trunk commands in there. Everybody is in LACP active mode, and everyone's a trunk. We've got port channels 2, 3, and 6. So if I were to do show ether channel summary, let's see what we've got now. So we've got 2, 3, and 6. Those are our port channels. However, port channel 6, which is FA21 and 22, which goes over to switch 2, is still in this guy's in the standalone state. So that's okay. Let's go ahead and take, I'm sorry, it goes over to switch 3. So here's switch 3. So if I do a do show ether channel summary here, we should see that 21 and 22, they are also in the standalone state. But what are we noticing here, right? When we take a look at this, on switch 3, everybody's running PAgP. So all of these ether channels here are PAgP, and they're either down or they're in standalone, the ports. And so that's not good. And all 3 ether channels are down. Layer 2, but the capital D means that they're down. So we've got our work cut out here on switch 3. So let's jump in on switch 3. And we're going to take a look at the ports here. They're set to desirable, right? And remember, desirable, that's PAgP mode, and that's for 21, 22, 23, 24. We've already fixed 01 and 02, but let's take care of the other guys. So we're going to say interface range, FA021 to 24. We're going to say no switch port, or actually no channel group. And this, let me see if I can get away with this. So I'm going to say no channel group in the hopes that it will allow me to remove those entries, and it did. Okay, fantastic. So 21, let me do the do show run again. 21 should be, we've got port channel 1, port channel 4, and port channel 6. So let me scroll up to my previous output here, where we saw 21 and 22. Those are going to be in channel group 6. So now we're going to say interface range FA021, because again, we can't do them all in the same ether channel group. 21 to 22, and we're going to say channel well, we would put protocol. It doesn't look like it's keeping it there for us, but that's okay. So good habit to be in. So then channel group 6 mode active, right? And then we're going to say interface range FA023 to 24, and I'm going to say channel protocol LACP, and then we're going to say channel group 6 mode active. I'm sorry, did not want channel group 6 mode active. We wanted channel group, and I'm going to have to double check this again. Let's get to the top. Hopefully I still got the rollback, and we don't, but it should have been, oops, it should have been in order, so we're going to say port channel 4. So we're going to say channel group 4 mode active. And then last but not least, we've got our gig links, which run up to switch 1, and those should already be set. Let's take a peek here. So 21 and 22 are channel group 6, LACP mode active. 23 and 24, which go over to switch 4, those are LACP and channel group 4 mode active. And then we have channel group 1. The mode is active for gig 01 and gig 02. We've got channel group 1, 4, and 6. Sorry about that. This was the video 3.2.1.3 has just finished exporting, so we're going to get rid of this guy here. Sorry about that. All right. So let's come down here. Now let's do a do show ether channel, and we want to get the summary output. Let's see what we see. So as you can see, everybody right now is still down, and the protocol still shows PAgP. So let's do a do show run again, and let's make sure that everything looks good. So let's do this. Let's go into the port channel interface, and we're going to say shut. And then I'm going to bring it back up with a no shut. And we're going to see if that helps. So do show IP interface brief. We should have port channels 1, 4, and 6. So interface PO4, shut, and then no shut. Whoops. And then interface PO6, shut, and then no shut. And let's now do a do show ether channel summary. And you can see, unfortunately, the protocol for these guys is still locked in with PAgP. So it might be that we may need to go the other way with these, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. Let me take a look at switch 4. And we'll look at switch 4 here. Let me bring switch 3 back down. So correct the port channel assignments, and all ports that participate in ether channel need to actively negotiate the link as LACP as opposed to PAgP. So verify that the physical ports are configured as indicated. Okay, so again, we should be doing LACP. We're going to see what's going on here. So let's jump on to 4, and let's right away go from user exec to privilege exec, and we're going to do a show ether channel summary. And boy, oh boy, do we have some issues here. So you can see that we've got 3 ether channels configured. 3 port channels are configured, 2, 4, and 5. However, we notice immediately that port channel 4, while it is LACP, and that's great, it's got 4 ports in it, 2 of which are probably not supposed to be in that ether channel group. So if I lower this a little bit, or actually we'll bring this up a little higher, there we go. So on switch 4, I've got gig 01 and gig 02, and those are in the up state, right? Those are in the port channel, and those look great. So gig 01 and 02 going up to switch 2, those guys are fine. However, let's look at port channel 4 here, where we have interface FA021 and FA022, and those go across to switch 1, and those are good. But 23 and 24, should these two be in this ether channel right here between switch 4 and switch 1? No, we can clearly see that they should be in this port channel here between switch 4 and switch 3. And actually, let me correct what I just said there. So in looking here, you see how it says port channel 5? That 21 and 22 are in port channel 5. So what we've got is we've got 21 and 22 are in 4, and they're up because they're properly configured on each side. However, they shouldn't be here in port channel 4. They should be in port channel 5. So let's do a let's do a show run. And if we take a look at 20, make sure I keep these numbers straight here. If we take a look at 21 and 22, the ports, what does it say? Are they in channel group 5? They're not. They're in channel group 4. So let's go to global config, and we're going to go to interface FA021 and 22, and I'm going to say no channel group, no channel group 4 mode active. And did I? Oh, interface range FA021 to 22, and I'm going to say no channel group 4 mode active. And the reason, and they're working right now, right? But we're going to pull them out of there because they should be channel group 5 mode active. And if, again, best practice is to say channel protocol LACP, right? So now let's do and you can see we've got a lot of ether channel, a lot of spanning tree protocol convergence taking place right now on the network. So if I do a do show span, we're going to see all kinds of activity. You've got learning, forwarding, blocking going on for VLAN 1. If I do a do show ether channel summary, what do we see now? So this looks much better, right? Much better. You've got these two ports are actually in the right port channel, which is port channel 5. Port channel 4, which is the port channel between switch 3 and switch 4, still shows standalone for 23 and 24. However, they are now in the right port channel by themselves. And then port channel 2 between switch 4 and switch 2 is up and operational. So those look good. So let's take a look at ports 23 and 24 with a do show run on this side. And let's see, 23 is 4 and it's active, and that's right, and it's a switch port mode trunk. And the port channels 2, 4, and 5 are all switch port mode trunk. So let's step back over here to number 3 and take another look. And this is kind of our problem child here. You can see that it's showing our completion is 100 out of 100. So we've completed all the tasks. However, this, which is very possibly a PacketTracer bug of some kind, because that's clearly not the state that those ports are in, or neither is it the protocol that those ports are using. So if I were to say do show run, let's take a look at 21, right? Protocol LACP mode active, switch port mode trunk. So 21, and let me make sure we got them in the right port channel. That's correct. 21 and 22 should be in 6. 23 and 24 should be in 4, and that is correct. And then gig 01 and gig 02 should be in port channel 1 or channel group 1. We've got our switch port mode trunk statements on there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end it here. Let's do a quick write mem. Let's save our config on switch 3, and let's reload. And let's see if this doesn't help us out. Now, our completion percentage obviously dropped to 52 because we've just reloaded the switch, but we want to see if we can get it to sort out the PAgP entry. So show ether channel summary. All right. Fantastic. So we had to reload the switch, but obviously we had completed all of the tasks. Again, could very well be a PacketTracer bug. It could have been something with the order of operations, which I doubt. Excuse me. But in the end, we've been able to troubleshoot each of the switches to determine what the issues were across all of the switches. And now all of those issues have been resolved. So we're at 100 out of 100, and this is a great exercise to be able to go through and actually sort of employ some of the commands that we've used, and backing things out, putting things in. So this has been PacketTracer Activity 3.2.2.3, which is basically troubleshooting ether channel. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on Saturday.